Hey you guys, this week I'm so excited to reveal my perfect pistachio cake recipe. Since this is my favorite cake flavor, you can bet this recipe is going to be incredible. I'm also going to show you my easy and preferred way of making a heart-shaped cake. So if you're into pistachio and you want to know how to make a beautiful heart cake, this video is for you. I've spent a lot of time perfecting this recipe and I can't wait for you to try it. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so when making a cake, I like to prepare my pans first. I have two 9x13-inch baking pans here, and I'm going to line them with parchment paper. I'm folding the parchment paper in the pan so that I can get an exact fit. Then I like to use an offset spatula to cut the folds. As you can see, I'm cutting out strips too. This will go on the sides of the pan. Lining the cake pan this way will ensure that the cake will come out easily and in one piece. Later on, you'll see I'm going to cut out 2 hearts per cake sheet, making 4 heart-shaped cake layers. So now I'm using vegetable oil here to lightly oil the pan. Then I'm going to stick the parchment paper cutouts inside. I'm doing another light layer of vegetable oil, then I'm going to take some flour and sprinkle it on top, spreading it across the pan by tapping and moving it from side to side. I'm going to repeat this with the second pan. Now it's time to prep the dry ingredients. I like to use a food scale to make things a little easier. I'm measuring the ingredients right into the sifter, which is on top of a large bowl. This recipe calls for flour, baking powder, baking soda, and salt. You're going to want to evenly distribute these by mixing it really well. Okay, so here I'm prepping my wet ingredients and I'm simply measuring the milk and sour cream into a measuring cup. We want these at room temperature, so pop it in the microwave for about 30 seconds and give it a good mix. And now for the star ingredient, pistachio paste. You can use pistachio butter as well. I'll place the link I'm using to the one in the description box, but if you like, you can make your own pistachio paste. I have a super quick and easy video tutorial. I'll also leave the link for that one here as well. This tutorial will also explain how you can freeze your pistachio paste for later use. Okay, so here I'm creaming my butter and sugar together. I want to let you guys know that I'm actually doubling the recipe here because I just so happen to be making 2 cakes, so don't be alarmed by the large amount of ingredients. You're going to want to cream the butter and sugar together on high speed for 5 to 7 minutes, scraping the sides about halfway through. Okay, so I have my pistachio paste here. I'm adding that into my creamed butter and sugar, and I'm going to let that mix on medium-high speed until it's well combined. Now it's time to add the eggs in 2 stages, mixing on medium speed until it's just combined after each stage. Adding in some vanilla extract here, and for a touch of added flavor and richness, I'm going to add some pistachio flavoring by L'Oreal oils. A little goes a long way, so you don't need too much, and keep in mind this ingredient is optional. You will still get a lovely flavor if you're just using pistachio paste. Also adding a little bit of almond extract. This will just boost the nutty notes in the cake. You may also add a little bit of green food coloring if you like, and I'm just going to mix this in until it's well combined. Now it's time to bring everything together. I'm going to alternate adding the wet and dry ingredients, beginning and ending with the dry. So I'm going to add 1/3 of the dry ingredients and mix that in slowly for a few seconds, and then I'm going to add half of the wet ingredients and mix that in until it's just combined. I'm going to repeat this step, ending with the last third of the dry ingredients. Again, I doubled the recipe here, so your stand mixer shouldn't be this full if you're only making 1 cake. I mean, look how beautiful and smooth this batter is. And let me tell you, it smells amazing too. I'm dividing the batter here using a food scale. You can just do an estimation if you want. It doesn't have to be exact. But for those of you who have a food scale, I notice that I usually fill each pan with about 700 to 750 grams of batter. So I'm just using my offset spatula to spread it out evenly. I'm also tapping the bottom a bit to evenly distribute it even more, also giving it a little shake. I'm baking these at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 18 to 20 minutes. Do the toothpick test before removing them from the oven. Once it's done, you're going to want to let this cool down for at least 15 minutes and remove the parchment paper on the sides. So I'm going to show you how to flip it onto a cake board so you can easily wrap it. As you can see here, I lined a cake board with plastic wrap, and you're going to flip it on top of the pan with the plastic side down. Then you're going to flip the pan along with the cake board so that the cake falls onto the cake board, and it should easily fall out in one piece. Peel the parchment paper, and you're going to place some plastic over the back of the cake and wrap it to cover it all up. Then you're going to take another cake board and flip it again, and there you have it. Do this again with the second cake layer, and as you can see, the cake boards are so helpful here, so definitely keep them for later use. You're going to want to chill these layers in the fridge, but I like to freeze them overnight or up to a few days until I'm ready to use them. Alright, so now I'm going to show you guys my preferred way of making heart-shaped layers. I printed out a heart that's about 8 inches in height and 6.5 inches in width. I just simply uploaded the heart onto a Word document, and I stretched out the shape to the size that I wanted. Honestly, you can freehand and draw the heart too, however you want. All we want is to make sure that we can fit 2 of these onto one cake layer, so as long as you're happy with the shape of the heart, this method will work great. So here I'm just cutting out the heart by folding it right down the middle, and now I have a perfectly shaped heart as a guide. I'm just taking an extra step here, and I'm going to cut this out onto parchment paper since I'd rather have parchment paper touch the cake. I have my chilled cake layer here, and I'm going to carefully unwrap the plastic from the sides, placing parchment paper over it along with the cake board so that I can flip it. Unwrapping the plastic here and repeating this step again so I can remove the plastic wrap. Now I'm going to place the heart on the side, and using a knife, I'm going to cut it out. Again, it's best to work with a chilled cake. And what I love about this recipe is that it's dense, yet when the cake gets to room temperature, it's soft and flavorful. Alright, so here I'm flipping the heart upside down so it can fit on the other side of the cake. And as you can see, I'm getting 2 heart layers out of this one cake pan. I'm just removing the excess cake here, which I actually made delicious cake truffles with. I'll leave the video for that here if you want to check it out. You're going to repeat these steps with a second cake pan so that you have 4 heart layers all together. Now it's time to stack the layers, so grab your favorite frosting. I'm using Italian meringue buttercream. What I also like to do is add some simple syrup, which is optional. I like dabbing a bit onto my cake layers as I stack them so that it retains the cake's moisture and it makes it even more flavorful. I have a piping bag filled with frosting here, and I'm just going to use it to outline the edge of the cake layer, and I'm going to simply fill the middle in with some flavored frosting. So I actually flavored my frosting with lemon. I always love the combination of pistachio and lemon together, so you can fill it with whatever flavor you like. As I said, I'm using Italian meringue buttercream. It's my favorite frosting. This buttercream is so silky, so smooth, and not too sweet, and you can easily flavor it too, which is why I love it. So here I'm applying a thin crumb coat, and I'm going to refrigerate the cake for about 10 minutes afterwards to set the crumb coat. Once that's set, I'll cover it with the green frosting. After chilling the cake for a few minutes, I like to refine the surface using my metal cake scraper while it's still cold. A useful tip is to heat the scraper slightly, which makes it easier to achieve a smooth finish on the sides. Alright, now it's time to decorate the cake. I'm using a closed star tip for this design. I'll leave the piping tips I'm using in the description box below for your reference. I wanted to keep this design simple, so I just did an outline on the top and an outline on the very bottom. I added a little bit of sprinkles as well. Also using some powdered sugar, fondant, and a letter mold, I made these small letters just to add some personalization to the cake. I'll leave the letter mold link below as well. But I'm so happy with how this cake turned out. Heart-shaped cakes are always so fun and pretty to look at. This recipe is perfect for pistachio lovers with its rich, nutty flavor and moist texture. I hope you give it a try and enjoy making it as much as I did. Be sure to let me know if you do. I would love to hear about it. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next video.